Assalamualaikum and good day. I am Raiza Mangwala Masibad together with Chulaika Usman and Bayhas Miragap. We're going to discuss the theory of John Brothers Watson or J.B. Watson. So first is the learning objectives are to be able to know who is John B. Watson, to be able to learn the theory of behaviorism, to be able to differentiate the classical conditioning and operating conditioning, and to be able to determine the strengths and limitations of behaviorism. So, who is J.B. Watson? So, the real name of J.B. Watson is John Brothers Watson. So, he was born on January 9, 1878. So, he was died on September 25, 1958. So, he was a American psychologist and also a professor at John Hopkins University. So, and also he was the father of behaviorism. So, he conducted a controversial experiment, which is the Little Albert experiment. And in 1913, he was titled as Psychology as the Behaviorist View. Watson advanced this change in the psychological discipline through his 1913 address at Columbia University. And sinabi ko nga kanina, which is ito yung he was titled as Psychology as the Behaviorist Views. In 1910 to 1915, he was the editor of the Psychological Review, and in 20th century, he was the most cited psychologist. And in 1915, he was the president of American Psychological Association or APA. What is behaviorism? Behaviorism, also known as behavioral psychology, is a theory of learning that states all behaviors are learned through interaction with the environment through a process called conditioning. So sinasabi lang dito na ang behaviors daw natin ay natutunan natin through sa pakikipag-interact natin with the environment, and also may process ito na tinatawag nating conditioning. So later on, malalaman ninyo kung ano nga ba itong mga conditioning na sinasabi. So thus, behavior is simply a response to environmental stimuli. Behaviorism is only concerned with observable stimulus response behaviors as they can be studied in a systematic and observable manner. Behaviorism focuses on observable and measurable behaviors in people and animals alike. He believed that only behaviors which could observed by the human eye were valid in scientific study of psychology. So Watson posited in his theory of behaviorism that behavior could be conditioned via manipulation of environmental stimuli. An example of this would be when a parent gave a award to a child for getting high scores in their report card. So next is the assumptions of the behavioral perspective. So behaviorism emphasizes the role of environment factors in influencing behavior to the near exclusion of innate or inherited factors. This amounts essentially to a focus of learning. So we learn new behavior through classical or operant conditioning, collectively known as learning theory. Therefore, when born, our mind is tabula rasa or in a blank state. So, sinasabi lang dito sa assumption is behavior is the result of environmental factors. So, Watson believed that all behavior, including complex human behavior, is the result of environment factors such as reinforcement, punishment, and conditioning. So, later on, malalaman ninyo kung ano nga ba itong reinforcement, punishment, and conditioning sa ibang reporters. And also, sinabi rin ni Watson that behaviorism should focus only on observable behavior and speculation about mental processes. And also, may bago tayong learning through the classical and operant conditioning or tinatawag nating learning theory. Therefore, when born, our mind is tabula rasa or in a blank state. So, it means yung pinanganak tayo na yung ating mind is in a blank state, and lahat daw ng ating behavior is natutunan natin from the environment you live in or kung saan ka man environment na nakatira. So next is classical conditioning. So also known as Pavlovian or respondent conditioning, is learning through association and was discovered by Pavlov, a Russian sociologist. So in simple terms, two stimuli are linked together in produce a new learned response in a person or animal. So, Chen Watson proposed that the process of classical conditioning is based on Pavlov's observations, was able to explain all aspects of human psychology. Watson used the principle of classical conditioning in the study of human emotion. Watson's ideas were influenced by Pavlov's work. So according to Watson, human behavior is just like animal behavior, is primarily the result of conditional responses. And also the classical conditioning theory says that behaviors are learned by connecting a neutral stimulus with a positive one.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day to each and everyone. I'm Julaika Yusman. So I'm the second reporter of the Group 11, which is ang ide-discuss ko ngayon within my report was the 3 stages of the classical conditioning, the principles of the classical conditioning, and the operant. So let's start at knowing the 3 stages of the classical conditioning. So we have 3 stages here, which are the before, during, and after conditioning. So let's start knowing the stage 1. So sa stage 1, sa stage na ito, yung unconditioned stimulus ay nakaka-produce siya ng unconditioned response sa isang organism. So, like for the example here, no, in the Albert experiment, kung mapapansin nyo, si Albert in before conditioning, mapapansin nyo dito within the picture na pinapalapit sa kanya yung daga at wala siyang naging response. So, ang role ng daga dito is bilang neutral stimulus, no? So, but when, no, yung unconditioned stimulus, which is yung pagpukpok sa steel bar, ay nag-cause ng annoying noise, ay nagpa-produce siya ng unconditioned response sa bata, na which is yung bata ay umiiyak. So, sa before conditioning, no, ang neutral stimulus ay yung ang white rat, kapag nakita ni Albert yung isang daga, is hindi siya natatakot. Pero nung sinubukan na dagdagan ng hammer na pinukpok sa steel bar, ay umiyak si Albert dahil natakot siya sa ingay o yung effect ng ingay na yon. So sa during conditioning naman, no, during this stage, no, ang stimulus ay nakakabuo ng no response, which is yung neutral stimulus, ay na-associate within the unconditioned stimulus, at which point ay nagiging conditioned stimulus na siya. So, dito naman sa during, no, mapapansin nyo, ang ginawa ay pinagsabay yung dalawa, which is yung dalawang stimulus, which is the neutral stimulus at unconditioned stimulus, which is nag-produce ito ng conditioned response and unconditioned stimulus. So, dito, during the conditioning, no, ito na yung time na sinabay na pinakita kay Albert ang daga at ang pagpupuk ng hammer sa steel ball. Then, ang response niya is umiiyak na naman siya. So, dito naman tayo sa after conditioning, no? Sa after conditioning, ngayon na conditioned stimulus ay na-associate na siya sa unconditioned stimulus, no? So, nagkakabuo ito ng new condition response. So, dito sa after conditioning example, no, doon makikita nyo, no, nagkaroon na ng conclusion, learnings, ang idea si Albert, itong batang si Albert, na kapag nakakakita siya ng furry objects or any objects or an animal, no, na mabalahibo, lalo na yung rat, pumapasok sa kanyang isip na kapag nakita niya ito is meron naman siyang maririnig na annoying or loud noise na kung saan siya natatakot. So, ayun na nga, ang after conditioning, no, ang nangyayari is kapag nakakita ng white rat si little Albert, is umiiyak na siya kasi condition na siya na kapag may daga is may hanger na maingay na makapapagtakot or nagkakapaiyak sa kanya. So, alam na natin yung 3 stages of the classical conditioning. Let's proceed to know the principles of the classical conditioning. So, now, we have the neutral stimulus. So, ang neutral stimulus is initially, hindi siya nag-e-evoke or nagre-response kapag hindi siya na-pair sa unconditioned stimulus. So, ang neutral stimulus, no, it is something or bagay na hindi nagkakaroon ng response kapag hindi siya na-pair sa unconditioned stimulus, katulad ng sinabi ko. So, example na lang natin dito is yung Pavlov's dogs experiment. So, kung mapapansin nyo in the example, no, yung dog is wala siyang response towards the neutral stimulus, which is yung bell. So yung nakikita nyo doon, yung neutral stimulus ay hindi nakakabigay or nakaka-evoke ng response towards the organism or yung dog na yon. So now, in the unconditioned stimulus naman, ito yung future of an environment na nagkakos ng natural and automatic na unconditioned response. So, itong unconditioned stimulus, no, it is something na siyang nakakapagbigay talaga sa isang tao or hayop ng unconditioned response. So, halimbawa dito is yung pagkain. So, mapapansin nyo within the example, no, yung nakikita niyo sa Pavlov's experiment, yung aso is nagkaroon ng response, diba, dun sa una, sa neutral stimulus is wala siya naging response towards that bell. So, nung pinakita yung pagkain is nagkaroon ng response yung aso, which is yung unconditioned stimulus natin dun is yung pagkain, which is nakakapagbigay ng natural and automatic unconditioned response towards the organisms. So, now, we proceed to the unconditioned response. So, ang unconditioned response, no, ito yung hindi natututunan na response na siyang nag-occur automatically kapag ng unconditioned response is presented. So, ang unconditioned response, no, ito na yung nagpapakita ng resulta when the unconditioned stimulus ay i-present, no? So, halimbawa na lang dito natin is in the Pavlov's dogs experiment is yung paglalaway ng aso na kapag nakikita niya yung pagkain. So, doon, nakikita niyo sa example na nagkakaroon ng unconditioned response yung aso after seeing those unconditioned stimulus, which is yung pagkain. So, ang unconditioned response na dito is yung salivation, which is yung paglalaway ng aso. So, sa conditioned stimulus naman tayo, no? It is a substitute stimulus na nagtitrigger and the same response in our organism as an unconditioned stimulus. So, ang condition, no, stimulus is it makes an organism na mag-react to something because it is associated with something else. So, ang conditioned stimulus, no, is ito na yung bagay na nagbibigay response or trigger sa isang bagay or sa isang hayop pala or tao kapag i-present yung unconditioned stimulus kasabay ang neutral response. So, nakakabuo ito ng conditioned stimulus. So, which is nananatili pa rin yung unconditioned response. So, itong conditioned stimulus is actually nangyayari ito during condition stage, which is the stage 2 ng classical conditioning. So, dito, halimbawa na lang dito is yung pagpapatunog ng bell ng kasunod or kasabay yung pagpapakita ng pagkain. So, for the conditioned response naman, no? So, dito sa conditioned response, ito na yung natututunan na nila na mag-response to the previous stimulus. So, ang conditioned response naman is yung natututo na ang isang hayop or yung isang tao from previous neutral stimulus. So, halimbawa na lang dito is yung aso is naglalarway na siya kapag nakakarinig na siya ng bell kahit walang pagkain na i-present or walang pinapresent na unconditioned stimulus. So, yung present lang yung neutral stimulus is nagkakaroon na siya ng conditioned response. So, for the acquisitions, no, it is an initial period of learning. So, itong acquisition na dinedescribe nito, yung organism na ay natututo na i-connect yung neutral stimulus at yung unconditioned stimulus. So, dito naman ay natututo na yung isang hayop, yung isang tao, na i-adapt yung learning na siyang i-connect yung kanyang idea na kapag present ang neutral stimulus ay matik na may unconditioned stimulus na kasama. So, halimbawa na lang dito is yung aso is natutunan niya na ang tunog ng bell ay nag-uugnay na makakakita siya ng pagkain para sa kanya. So, yun ang pinagkaiba lang, no? Huwag tayo malito sa condition response and acquisition kasi sa condition response, dito is natututo lang siya mag-response to the neutral stimulus, while itong acquisition is natututo na siya na i-connect yung neutral stimulus pati yung unconditioned stimulus na nakaproduce niya din ng response. So, dito naman tayo sa extinctions, no? Dito sa extinction, tinutukoy nito yung gradual weakening ng conditioned response by breaking the association between ng condition and unconditioned stimuli. So, dito na hindi niya naman siya literal na pinapahina, kundi na humihina yung condition response ng tao, ng hayop, na kung saan doon yung condition stimulus ay di nagaganap yung condition response kapag wala siyang nakikitang condition stimulus. No, nandito sa extinction is ito na yung halimbawa na lang dito is yung aso ay hindi na nakaranas ng paglalaway o hindi na siya naglalaway kapag naririnig na niya ang tunog ng bell nang walang kasunod na pagkain. So, doon sa nawawala ng ng lakas yung condition response in the extinction dahil na nga sa wala siya nakikitang pagkain, and because of that hindi niya na-associate na yung ang condition stimulus to the neutral stimulus. So dito naman tayo sa spontaneous recovery, no? It is a phenomenon yung Pavlovian conditioning na tumutukoy sa pagbabalik ng condition response sa kahinaang forma nito after a period of time following extinction. So dito naman is nagre-recover na yung condition response, no, matapos manghina over a time of period, which is ang halimbawa dito is yung kahit na extinct na yung paglalaway ng aso, biglang nagkakaroon ng muling paglalaway ng aso pagkatapos ng isang buwang pahinga. So, bumabalik yung condition response nung aso, no, after a month of extinctions. So, a generalization naman tayo, no. It is a tendency na mag-respond sila the same way to the stimuli that are similar but not identical to the condition stimulus. So, dito naman ay nagkakaroon na siya ng respond even though na hindi identical yung condition stimulus as long as they similar or magkakaparehas yung stimulus na iyon. So, halimbawa na lang dito ay ang paglalaway din kapag naririnig ang tunog ng iba't ibang uri ng bell. So, for my own understanding, no, dito, yung aso ay nagkakaroon ng identical response na siyang nagbibigay sa isang bagay ng tiyak or tinitiyak niya para sa kanya is magkakapareho lang yung mga bagay na yon, yung mga naririnig. So example na lang dito is yun na nga, gina-generalize niya na lahat ng uri ng bell ay makakapagbigay sa kanya ng pagkain, which is yun ang generalization ng aso towards the bell or yung neutral stimulus na naririnig niya. So dito naman tayo dumako sa discrimination, no. Ito ay isang proseso na kung saan yung individual ay natututo na ipagkaiba yung mga magkaparehas na stimuli and response that to appropriate to each one. So dito naman is natututo na ang hayop o yung tao na ipagkaiba yung stimulus and response nila na kanilang na-encounter. So halimbawa na lang dito yung aso ay naglalaway lamang kapag naririnig niya ang tiyak na bell na nag-uugmo sa pagpapakita ng pagkain, hindi sa ibang uri ng bell. So dito ay nagkakaroon na ng discrimination na kung saan tumitiyak na siya na itong bagay na ito ay makakabigay talaga sa kanya ng pagkain or natututo na dito siya na alamin yung pagkakaiba at pagkakalintulan ng bell na yun. So, in this discrimination, no, hindi sinasabi dito na pag yung racial din, no. Ang tinutukoy lang naman na discrimination within these principles of the classical conditioning is yung pagkakaiba, nagkakaroon na dito na natututo yung isang hayop, yung isang organism, no, na yung isang tao na ipagkahiba yung iba't ibang stimuli na at i-ensure niya na yung isang bagay na yun talaga yung means mo na makakapagbigay sa kanya ng unconditioned stimulus. So, o yung pagkain. So, in the example ng Pavlov's dogs, no? So, let's proceed to the next slide, which is the classical conditioning example. So, nagamit ko na itong dalawang examples na to, no, sa previous discussion ko, which is ginamit ko yung the little Albert experiments sa 3 stages of the classical conditioning, kung mapapansin niyo, and yung Pavlov's dogs, ginamit ko din siyang example in the principles of classical conditioning. So let's have brief explanation na lang about sa mga classical conditioning example na ito. So sa Pavlov's dog, no, so ito ay isang tanyag or mostly famous na example ng classical conditioning na ginawa ni Pavlov na kung saan in-experiment niya ang kanyang aso. So doon sa experiment niya, makikita na si Pavlov ay nagpapakita ng bell sa aso at pinapatunog ito, no. Then, he showed the food, no. He showed the food na nagpapakita ng response sa aso. Then kung mapapansin nyo, sa during conditioning is pinagsabay niya ito na siyang nagbibigay ng paiwatig sa aso to learn that ganito, kapag may narinig ka, is may pagkain ka. Then after conditioning is nagkakaroon na ng condition response ang aso na kapag marinig niya yung bell ay may pagkain na darating o ibibigay sa kanya. Kung mapapansin nyo, no, doon sa experiment niya, ay tinuturuan niya ang kanyang aso na matuto to associate the sounds presenting his or her foods. So, dito naman tayo sa little Albert experiment, no. So, dito sa Little Albert experiment example ng classical conditioning, ito naman yung experiment kay Little Albert, which is a 9-month-old infant na siyang in-experiment sa iba't ibang klase ng hayop. So, pinapakita sa kanya yung daga, yung puting daga, no? Yung white rat, yung rabbit, yung unggoy, at iba't ibang maskara or furry mask. At mapapansin nyo, before conditioning, no, kung mapapansin nyo ay walang response dito si Albert. But when Watson struck the metal, ay nagkaroon ng unconditioned response ang bata, and during the condition ay pinagsabay niya ito. Then yung bata is doon, nag-adapt na siya ng takot when he saw the rabbit at iba pang furry items. And after conditioning, dito na nagkaroon ng idea o learning ang bata na si Albert that every time na makakakita siya ng hayop or any furry items ay makakarinig siya ng annoying noise that makes him cry a lot. So doon, natututo ang bata emotionally, no, na matakot sa isang bagay which is based on his or her experience. So nagkakaroon siya ng behavior emotionally. So let's proceed to the next slide, which is the operant conditioning. So operant conditioning is known as an instrumental conditioning. So ito ay isang method of learning normally attributed to B.F. Skinner, where the consequences of a response ay na-determine yung probability of being repeated. So through operant conditioning daw, yung behavior which is na-reinforced or rewarded will likely to be repeated, and the behavior which is punished will occur less frequently. So sa Skinner, no, is regarded as the father of the operant conditioning, but his work was based on Thorndike's 1898, the law of effect, no? So si Skinner ay pinag-aralan niya yung operant conditioning by conducting experiment using animals that he placed in a Skinner box, which is kaparehas sa Thorndike's puzzle box. So according to this operant conditioning, no, behavior that is followed by a pleasant consequences is likely to be repeated, and behavior followed by the unpleasant consequences is likely to be repeated. So sense of reward and punishment itong operant, no. So kapag may maganda na ginawa is likely maulit yung behavior, or di kaya kapag may reward ka na or makukuha or mabibigay. Kapag hindi naman maganda ang ginawang behavior is may punishment. So like for example, no, let's put in an example para mas makarelate tayo. In a classroom, no, ikaw ay isang good student and you show a good behavior, which is lagi kang nagpa-participate, nakikinig, nag-o-oral, nag-study ka every time na may mga quizzes or exam. So ang reward mo doon is makakakuha ka ng mataas na grado. At kapag halimbawa, no, ay di maganda ang ginagawa mo as a student, o hindi maganda yung giging behavior mo as a student, like nakikisismis ka lang, tamad makinig, at hindi nagte-take notes sa klase. So, may consequences na makakakuha ka ng punishment by having a low grades na siyang maaaring magpahirap sa'yo bilang estudyante na makaangat sa grade level mo. So, this was based din, no, sa view ni Thorndike in his third law of effect, which is sinasabi niya doon na if the behavior was pleasant, they are morely likely to get reward, and unpleasant behavior will mostly seldom to happen upon getting the punishment. So, sino ba naman ang gugustuhin, no, ng punishment o paghihirap lang ang madadanas na niya? That's why the operant conditioning was morely likely to be called a motivation, na siyang nagtutulak sa isang tao na gawin yung tama, yung tamang gawain, which is nakakatulong sa kanila, rather than do those things, no, na magpapahirap sa kanila or magpapunish sa kanila. So yun sinasabing Skinner box dyan, no, na nabanggit dyan sa second paragraph, is kaparehas lang daw kay Thorndike puzzle box, which is yung dun sa box na papansin nyo sa Skinner box, no, makikita nyo yung daga, the lever, the food, and yung mga elixirs, no. So doon, ang experiment doon ay tinuturuan yung daga na matuto maggamit ng lever, which is ang reward niya doon, kapag nagawa niya is may food siya. So kapag hindi niya nagawa, ang punishment niya doon is wala siyang makukuha ang food. So it's kind of a survival para sa daga na yun, no. So ganin din kay Thorndike, no, sa puzzle box niya. Kung mapapansin nyo sa Thorndike puzzle box kasi, doon is yung pusa within the box. So, andun, tinuturuan siya paano makalabas doon sa box na yun, which is ang reward niya yun is makaalis siya doon or malaya na siyang makakalis sa box na yun. Ang punishment ay mananatili siya doon habang buhay kapag di niya nagabuksan yung pinto na yon.
So once again, I am Riza Mangola Masibad, and this is the continuation of the report ni Julayka Usman. So Skinner identified the three types of responses or operant that can follow behavior. So we have neutral operant, reinforcers, and punishers. So first is we have the neutral operant. So it responses from the environment that neither increase nor decrease the probability of a behavior being repeated. So next is we have the reinforces. So it responses from the environment that increase the probability of a behavior being repeated. Reinforces can be either positive or negative. So we have positive reinforces, which is talking about getting something good, and also we have the negative reinforcement. So it talks about taking away something adversive. And also we have the punisher. So it responses from the environment that decrease the likelihood of a behavior being repeated. Punishment weakens behavior. So it can remove something positive from positive to neutral, and also can give something negative go from neutral to negative. Next is we have the positive reinforcement. So a response or behavior is strengthened by rewards, leading to the repetition of desired behavior. The reward is a reinforcing stimulus. Positive reinforcement strengthens a behavior by providing a consequence an individual finds rewarding. So it means that it's something is added to encourage behavior. So one of the example of this is comments like good job or public acknowledgement of someone or a private congratulations. So next is we have the negative reinforcement. So it is the termination of an unpleasant state following a response. This is known as negative reinforcement because it is the removal of an adverse stimulus that is rewarding the animal or person too. So negative reinforcements is about increasing the target behavior by taking away something adversive. So, and it is not about punishment, but rather about increasing a behavior by taking something undesirable away. So the goal of the reinforcement is a desirable action or behavior. One of the example of this is a seatbelt alarm. So a car beeps until the seatbelt is fastened, and reinforcing the behavior of buckling up. Lastly, is we have punishment or weakens behavior. So it is defined as the opposite of reinforcement since it is designed to weaken or eliminate a response rather than increase it. It is an adversive event that decreases the behavior that it follows. So it means that it's about weakens a behavior because a negative condition is introduced or experienced as a consequences of the behavior. So punishment is often mistakenly confused with negative reinforcement. But remember, reinforcement always increases the chances that behavior will occur, and punishment always decreases the chances that a behavior will occur. And that's all with my part. Thank you.
So, pleasant morning to each and everyone. I am by Hasmin Ragyab, one of the member of Group 11. So, what is behavior modification? Behavior modification is a set of therapies, techniques based on an operant condition, Skinner 1938, 1953. The main principle comprises changing environmental events that are related to a person's behavior. So, itong behavior modification, ginagamitan siya ng therapies or techniques based on operant conditioning, sabi nga ni Skinner. So, ang main principle nito is yung changing environmental events that are related to a person's behavior. Psychology should be seen as a science. Theories need to be supported by empirical data obtained through careful and controlled observation and measurements of behavior. So the components of a theory should be as simple as possible. Behaviorists propose the use of operational definitions. So, psychology is a science because it employs systematic methods of observations, experimentation, and data analysis, no, to understand and predict behavior and mental processes. Behaviorism is a primarily concerned with observable behavior as opposed to internal events and thinking and emotions. The starting point for many behaviorists is a rejection of the introspection. So when we say introspection is ito yung thoughts mo, yung motivations mo, yung feelings mo. So of the majority of mainstream's psychology. Therefore, no, the internal events such as thinking and explained through behavioral terms. There's a little difference between the learning that takes place in human and that in another animals. So there's no fundamental qualitative to distinction between human and animal behavior. Kasi therefore research can be carried out on animals as well as the humans. So behavior is a result of stimulus response. So all behavior, no matter how complex, can be reduced to a simple stimulus response association. Si Watson described the purpose of psychology as to predict, given the stimulus, what reaction will take place, or given the reaction, state what the situation or stimulus is that has caused the reaction. Two types of behaviorisms. The first one is the methodological behaviorisms, and the second one is the radical behaviorisms. So ano nga ba itong methodological behaviorisms? So in Watson's article, Psychology as the Behaviorist Views, it is often referred to as the Behavior Manifesto. So in which Watson outlines the principles of all behaviorists, lahat nung pag-uugali ng isang tao, no? So psychology as the behaviorist views it as purely objective, experimental branch of natural science. So theoretical goal nito is yung ma-predict at ma-control niya yung pag-uugali, no? So the second one is the radical behaviorisms. So itong radical behaviorisms was founded by B.F. Skinner, or si Borges Frederick Skinner. Si Skinner agreed with the assumption of methodological behaviorisms that the goal of psychology should be to predict and control behavior. So si Skinner, Skinner, like Watson, also recognized the role of internal mental events, and while he agreed such private events could be not be used to explain behavior, he proposed they should be explained in the analysis of behavior. So another important distinction between methodological and radical behaviorisms, it concerns the extent to which environmental factors influence the behavior. So in 1928, si Watson published Psychological Care of Infant and Child, in which he cautioned against providing children with too much affection, and instead endorse the practice of treating children like miniature. Dito, he believed that excessive early attachment could contribute to a dependent, needy personality in adulthood, emphasizing that people do not receive excessive comfort in adulthood and therefore should not receive it in childhood. childhood, which is disagree ako doon kasi sinasabi niya dito sa radical behaviorism is kailangan daw yung isang bata hindi masyado pinapakitaan ng affections, no, para daw sa pagtanda nila is maging independent sila at hindi sila umasa sa parents nila, which is disagree ako. Kung maalala nyo, meron siyang ginawa na experiment which is yung Little Albert experiments. We have behaviorism strengths and limitations, of course. So the first one is we're gonna discuss the strengths. So the first is the behaviorist approach provides clear predictions. So this means that the explanation can be scientifically tested and supported with evidence. Real life applications. So ang example nito is yung mga therapy or the counseling. Many experiments to support theories. So tama ito kasi kung gagawa ka ng isang theory, kailangan mo munang mag-experiment or mag-data gathering para mas maging suportado yung theory na gagawin mo. Identified comparisons between animals ni Pavlov and humans naman ni Watson and Rainer ni yung Little Albert. So according to Watson, the human behavior is just like the animal behavior. It's primarily the result of conditioned responses. So whereas Pavlov's works with dogs involve the conditioning of reflexes, so si Watson believes the same principles could be extended to the conditioning of human emotions. Limitations: ignores mediational processes, ignore biology, too deterministic, experiments, and reductionist.